It has been 3.5 years since Russian President Vladimir Putin did the unthinkable and formally invaded Ukraine. It has been more than 10 years since the Maidan protests overthrew the pro-Russian regime in Ukraine, resulting in Russia's military annexation of the Crimea. In that interim, Canada has staunchly expressed support for Ukraine and soundly denounced Putin's aggression. However, it is time to target just how much of that rhetoric was purely political posturing and just how serious Canada is in providing a true military deterrent to Putin. Since 2015, Canadian military personnel have been training recruits for the Armed Forces of Ukraine, or the AFU. To date, Canada has trained an estimated 40,000 Ukrainian soldiers, and following the withdrawal of Canadian personnel from Ukraine just prior to Putin's invasion, that training mission resumed in Britain and Poland. Canada initially provided Ukraine with non-lethal military aid, but following the February 2022 invasion by Russia, the Canadian military began providing weapons, ammunition, and combat vehicles to the AFU. Since 2017, Canada has also forward deployed a battle group into Latvia as part of NATO's Operation Reassurance to deter any future Russian aggression in the Baltic. To a layperson, it might seem that Canada is doing its bit to keep Ukraine in the fight to protect its own sovereign territory. However, for close observers of the ongoing conflict in Ukraine, it is obvious that the modern battlefield has evolved dramatically in the past 30 months. In the very early days of the invasion, vast columns of Russian tanks were turned into heaps of scrap metal by the AFU. While Canada had provided Ukraine with a large number of Carl Gustaf anti-tank recoilless launchers, there were few reported cases of these knocking out Russian armor. Instead, it was the FGM-148 Javelin anti-tank missile made by Raytheon and Lockheed Martin that soundly defeated Putin's armored columns. For the record, Canada does not have the FGM-148 Javelin system, and the bulk of our Carl Gustaf ammunition was donated to the AFU without yet being replaced. Since those early clashes devolved into a slogging stalemate of trench warfare, it has been aerial autonomous drones that have become the queen of the battlefield in conjunction with the heavy artillery. The first-person view or FPV drones used by both sides have made troop movements a nightmare by day and night. The so-called suicide drones can disable armored vehicles or bunkers with their explosive payload, whereas observation drones can pinpoint targets for heavy artillery. Yes, Canada donated 4 of our Army's 37 M777 155mm howitzers to the AFU, along with over 40,000 rounds of 155mm artillery shells. However, on the modern battlefield, the M777 is the wrong weapon system. They are a towed artillery piece without armor protection and a crew of 8 gunners. In a battle with an opponent armed with artillery and sophisticated counter-battery capability, like the Russians, the M777 is a death trap. It cannot shoot and scoot, and the crew have no protection. What is needed is a modern armored self-propelled gun system, such as the BAE Archer or the KNDS Caesar guns. With their automated loaders, these systems have crews of just 2 to 4 or 3 to 5 respectively, and most importantly, they can fire and move within 20 seconds. As for the 40,000 artillery rounds which we donated, with the AFU firing 2,000 rounds a day, that amounts to 3 weeks' worth in a war that has been raging for 130 weeks. Canada's current capacity for domestic production would be 5,000 rounds a month. There is a plan to add another production line, but that is not expected to come to fruition until September 2025. For the record, Russia is currently producing 250,000 artillery shells per month, but I digress. Canada has recognized the importance of employing low-level air defense systems to counter drones. As such, it was announced in January 2023 that Canada was spending $406 million to purchase a National Advanced Surface-to-Air Missile System, a NASAM, from Kongsberg. At time of writing, the AFU have yet to receive this NASAM from Canada. Ditto for a second RBS-70NG air defense system from Saab, worth an estimated $227 million, which will be earmarked for the battle group in Latvia whenever it gets delivered. For the record, Canada has not announced any acquisition of a fleet of FPV drones, despite their prominence on the battlefield in Ukraine. What Canada did announce was a rush purchase of 90 light tactical vehicles from General Motors Canada. These are essentially desert dune buggies with no ballistic protection and no protection from inclement weather. In case no one in Ottawa has been watching, let me remind our generals that the Russian army today is not the paper tiger that got destroyed before the gates of Kyiv in 2022. They are now battle-hardened veterans of the modern battlefield, and the Russian defense sector is in full gear. Meanwhile, Canada has depleted the combat cupboard. We look to ramp up artillery shell production sometime next fall, and our battle group in Latvia freezes their asses off in dune buggies during a cold, damp Baltic winter. This has been On Target. I'm Scott Taylor.